Need a motion and a second to approve the payment of bills for September 2019 for a total of $4,527,323.96. Need a motion and a second, please. Closure number 3.
So moved.
Mr. Wentz? Mr. Holland? Questions? Mr. Riley?
After all the information that has been gathered, this appears to be another ill-fated vote that 5 people will rubber stamp their blind trust in the administration, making a self-serving recommendation as a lobbyist that benefits from the district's consumption. And you're going to authorize to pay bills that nobody here looked at or verified as a board member. So can we please table this for a 1-week period or 2-week period until after you can allow your board the opportunity to review these bills prior to their payment, so we don't miss a CCTI, or we don't have $4 million missing in the future, or we don't have credit card problems or other issues associated with our bills. It is our responsibility as a board to do so. I think we should instruct our administration to ensure that that gets taken place prior to this vote. Thank you.
Any other comments? Have a motion and a
I'll
second.
make a motion that we table this for a week until we get an opportunity to review them. Can I get a second on that motion, please?
I'll second that, and I'll come and take a look at the bills this week on the time.
No, there's a vote on the table. Right? Correct, Mr. Riley? Right. So I had a motion and a second to table the payment of bills. A roll call vote, please, Ms. Wagner.
Whoa, wait.
Anybody who wants to discuss payment of bills, please, one.
Would that affect payroll and benefits? I mean, you have deadlines?
I believe it affects all the bills, Ms. Bowman. I mean, let's face it, you can't pay a bill unless you make sure that it's right.
I understand that, but I mean, if people are expecting to get paid on September the 30th, I would think you'd have bills out tomorrow, October 1st, for payment. If the invoice's deadline is September 30th.
That is correct.
So you're saying that it's better to just pay the bills and not look at them than to look at them and then pay them?
Well, you have to register for a list. If you would have questions, you could just contact Patty via phone.
Well, we actually tried that. We actually showed up. We tried phone, we tried email, we tried getting them to send us documentation. We tried looking at the contracts that are associated with the bills. We tried even right-to-know information, and we're being blocked by the lack of transparency by an administration that's supposed to be subordinate to the board. And under Section 518, it's not only our documents, it's our responsibility. And under the judge's order, to not look at the bill first would be not only neglect and removal from the district's board, but also would be an irresponsibility to the citizens that we have to stand up to. To think otherwise, to me, would be completely irrational, illogical, not within common sense. It would be evil and immoral. Thank you.
Mr. Bradley, I think your payroll and benefits is set. That contract is set from day one when they begin in August. Your debit card is probably on your registry fund. You can itemize it. Food service fund is probably itemized under food. And your general fund is you just look through your registry for your bills. I don't understand how complicated that is, to be honest with you. And in my discussion.
To the way you've done it, I would agree. You don't find it at all. However, for a business person, hold
I
on.
used to do it.
I know, and you know what's funny? You think you did, but the reality is this district was off by millions of dollars. It's been going into debt, and nobody has a check and a balance on the system because this board has repeatedly rubber stamped with a blind trust to at least look at them. We found many errors. We're human. Everybody makes a mistake. The idea is by having more than one person look, we can catch each other's mistakes so we don't fail to pay. CCTI for a couple months because we forgot to do it, or chose not to do it, but not within our board. Somebody chose. So it's those actions of individual humans that we are trying to catch, which is why you have an elected board. Sorry you didn't understand that. Thank you.
Okay, I have a comment, since we're allowed to speak. If more than Dave had been looking at the bills when Brian was here, then perhaps the issues with being over budget would have been caught.
We actually weren't over budget. If you look at the budget at the end, we were still within line. That was a full, false
I'm
BS
just saying,
answer
listen,
from
I'm
this
just
board.
going by what
That's why
was reported.
I understand, but that's why the budget got raised by $4 million, why a tax increase got pushed upon you. It was because BS from the administration and nobody checked it. Total BS. Total BS. It's a shame. They should really look at it.
I'm going by what was reported and what's in the minutes, okay,
Fair enough.
and what is on the video. If more people had been looking, if everybody had taken a section, whatever, it would have been caught. People wouldn't have been surprised when the issue came up. Yes, I understand it did not come out to be nearly as much. We were over a little, on couple $100,000, I think, on the healthcare. I haven't run the numbers, okay? But I think it's important to at least spot check to make sure it's being done right. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody. There is not one perfect person in this room unless Jesus is here, okay? Now, as far as CCTI, someone made a mistake. They forgot to mail the check.
I find that very hard to believe. Forgot.
I'm just saying that was the explanation given at the meeting. I will accept it at this time. I think that whoever forgot to mail the check should be spoken to, if that is the case, and told not to do it again. I mean, it's a lot of money. They showed up here, and were rather upset. Although evidently there was some misinformation given because we pay them through March. And evidently it's been done that way for the last number of years. We start in, what, July, I guess, and then pay through March, however it works. So there were mistakes on both sides. But I agree with you that it has to be looked at to make sure, if at all possible, we can catch any mistakes so that they don't recur. And that's what checks and balances is about. That's what oversight is about. And I'm done.
Any further comments?
I'll ask, Mr. Frymer, do we have a lawful obligation to review documentation prior to authorizing it as a board? Or can we hide under the plausible deniability?
Those are only two choices because I believe you're allowed to rely on your professionals, which is what happens here when they send out that check register. I've been telling you for months now that you are allowed to rely on professionals as a board member.
And in the event that there's an error in that check register or a failure to pay a bill, who's responsible at that point? Who would be held accountable for those payments?
I'm sorry, I don't know what you mean.
So if a bill comes in and it's a wrong bill, it wasn't our district, it wasn't our school, and the administration misses it, and it gets onto our check register, and we find out that, hey, we should be paying this bill, we can stop it as a board. I recognize that. If a bill gets onto the district and they pay it, and these guys all rubber stamp it without any review, who is ultimately responsible to those taxpayers for that money that left our coffers and went to someone wrong or illegal?
Well, in that situation, you have the company that sent the bill to the wrong place in the first place. You have whoever accepted the bill as being ours, and whoever told you guys to approve it.
So we could go back to that employee and ask them for the money?
No,
If a board reviews a bill and it's found to be an illegal payment or misappropriated funds, can't those stakeholders go back to those board members and hold them accountable under the surcharge law to force them to recoup the loss that they incurred for not doing their job through neglect to those stakeholders using the surcharge law?
I believe under the surcharge law, it would have to be a willful improper distribution. And in that situation, it would have been a willful improper distribution.
Because they didn't do their job to start with, so it's just neglect.
Now, that's your legal opinion,
Okay, what's your opinion on that side then?
that you can rely on your professionals.
But we've learned that they make mistakes. We've watched audit reports all over the state. These school districts are not taking responsibility for the funds that they've collected from those people. And then therefore have made errors that are the responsibilities of the boards to correct. And that failure has caused auditor generals, it's caused a waste of taxpayers. It's a complete mess out there in these districts that fail to have the checks and balances.
We call the question, whichever one will work on.
Well, we're having a discussion, Rita, or you just want to stamp it away?
I'm gonna call the question once you start repeating yourself, that's it.
But the question is, are you responsible for it?
Pardon?
First one is on the tabling of the payment of bills.
Okay. Call out.
Roll call vote, please, Ms. Wagner.
Okay, so it's a motion by Mr. Bradley, seconded by Mr. Belt to table the payment of bills for at least a week. Mrs. Rita?
Hold on, so make sure that we, as a board, have a full opportunity to review all of the financial records of the district prior to making payments.
Mrs. Rita Spinelli?
No.
Mr. Wayne Wentz? Mr. Andrew Yancer? Ms. Joy Beers, absent. Mr. Richard Belt?
Yes.
Mr. David Bradley?
Yes.
Mr. Stephen Holland?
No.
Ms. Gail Mahalik? Mr. Larry Stern? So that's 3 yes, 5 no, 1 absent, motion fails.
I know, hold on. I make, wait a second, sir.
No, I have a motion, open a motion.
I know that, and I'm gonna help that. I make a motion that we allow Justine Bradley to look at these bills tomorrow so that we can still meet the requirement. Can I get a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, because I'll do the job for you.
Any question from the floor? Roll call vote, Mr. Wagner.
Okay, so this is by Mr. Bradley, seconded by Ms. Mahalik to have Mr. Bradley look at the bills tomorrow.
Yeah, to authorize Mr. Bradley
Authorize.
to
Got it.
look at all the bills tomorrow
Okay.
prior to their payment. Right, we got that right? I want to make sure it's written
Prior
properly.
payment, yes. Mr. Wayne Wentz?
No way, I will never put Patty in that situation.
Mr. Andrew Yancer?
No.
Mr. Joy Beers, absent. Mr. Richard Belt?
Yes.
Mr. David Bradley?
Yes.
Mr. Stephen Holland?
No.
Ms. Gail Mahalik? Ms. Rita Spinelli? Mr. Larry Stern?
No.
3 yes, 5 no, 1 absent, motion fails.
I have a motion by Mr. Wentz, and a second by Stephen Holland to approve payment of bills for September 2019 as stated earlier. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
3 noes. Ms. Mahalik, Mr. Welch, Mr. Bradley.